there, welcome to Colors. I'm Erica. On today's video, we're going to be doing the color along in Wild Summer. This is a beautiful book, and I have not colored in it nearly enough, so I'm happy to be doing this page. I have chosen this cute Sandcastle page. I love this page. I think it's adorable. I have printed out a couple of inspiration images. I'm not sure which direction I'm going to go, if I'm going to do like the tan and the green or the green and the tan for the sea turtle, but I kind of like this color palette. I think that's a good one. And then I've got some inspiration here for the Sandcastle too. So yeah, I'm excited to color this. I'm going to try to do a background with some water mediums and then do quite a bit of work with alcohol markers if I'm able. So yeah, that's the goal today. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my water mediums and we'll get started on the background. Okay, so I'm going to use my Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s. I'm going to do a light corally color in the background, and I think I kind of want to draw in some clouds too, just because, I don't know, I just have the urge to do that, but I don't know if I should just add that in later. Yeah, I think I'll add that in later if I decide to do it at all. Okay. Anyway, sorry for the sidetrack there. I'm going to use salmon, and we're also going to add in a little bit of the pink and a little bit of the carmine. Maybe a little bit of this orangish yellow too. I'm not sure about that one yet, but yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do overall color with the salmon. And so I'm just going to very lightly color right on the page here. Thankfully, at least in the US, this paper handles water mediums well, so I won't have to fight with it too much. I don't want to push too hard because the more pigment I add, the more opaque that the Neocolors will be, and I'm not looking for that today. So I'm really wanting just a very light background. All right, and then also in the background, we've got like these wave things that are coming up the sides, and then there's a few little waves through the center. I am going to color those like they're water. So I wanted to have a background where those water pieces, water swirls would stand out, which is why I'm doing like this orangey color or peachy color background instead of a blue sky or something like that. All right, I think I have color in pretty much everywhere that it's supposed to be for the background. So yeah, so I'm just going to activate this with my water brush really quick. Okay, I've gone ahead and put a little bit of each color on my color palette so I can pick up the color from here, and hopefully it won't be too vibrant, too opaque, and I'm going to kind of make a little fun, not really pattern, but just kind of variations in the background. So I'm going to use my palette for this. So it's just going to be off here to the side. I have my little cloth here, and I want to make sure this is pretty much dry. Okay, so we're going to start with the orangish yellow. I'm going to pick up some of that, and this one I'm just going to add a little bit. That is too dark. The nice thing about the Neocolor 2s is you do have some time to work with them before they kind of get situated where they need to be. So you can play with, like if you get too much on there, you can, clean off your brush and use a clean brush to kind of move that pigment around a little bit more. I just kind of wanted to have this color up around the tree a little bit and kind of have like a not quite a sunset or sunrise, but something similar, something just soft and fun. So yeah, so I'm gonna have a little bit of that yellowy color there. Then we're gonna go back to our salmon color, and I'm just gonna kind of pat that around. I don't love this brush for this. Let me grab another brush. Yeah, I'm just trying to get so that I don't have like, there we go. So I just want a little bit of variation in some of the color. I don't want it to be all the same color. We want interest and dimension in the background. And this is a good way to get it by using this padding motion. Okay, I'm going to come back in with my yellow a little bit. And you'll see me sometimes just use the back of my hand to get some of the pigment off. It's just easier than, I know the towel's right there, but it's just kind of a habit now. I just tend to do that. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to continue that around. There we go. All right, grab a little bit more of the salmon color. We're going to do a little bit of that over here. And again, you can just see I'm just kind of patting it around right on top of that background color that I mean, it's the same color, but this definitely adds another layer, another dimension kind of. Okay, that's good. I'm going to use some of the pink now. Again, don't want it to be too thick of a color because it's not, this is going to be right on top of the other background. It is not the same, it's definitely not the same color, so we don't want it to be too drastic of a different look. Just kind of want those to blend in together just to create this really soft, fun background. Hopefully you guys can see all the variations too on the camera. Not sure how that's looking for you. Okay, and then we're going to try a little bit of this carmine. I'm going to wet that down quite a bit though, so that it's not too vibrant. And then pat that off on the sides. Just going to do a little bit. Still too much on my brush, but I can get that off of there. There we go. Just barely get that color on there. It's just a tiny little bit different tone than the pink that we've already got on there. All right, I think that'll work. I'm going to hold this up closer so you can kind of see that background, see kind of what I've done with just a little bit of extra color added right on top. All right, so that's our background done. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, so here are my inspiration images. I think I'm going to go with the green skin and the brownish shell. Everything else is going to be just like regular colors. So we're going to start with the sand, and I have 3 different colors that I wanted to use for the sand. So I have Y120, E210, and E220, all from Ohuhu. And I'm just going to go through and add a few colors. So these ones, just kind of, I'll just keep track of these here just so I know what's what. Okay, so here's the colors of alcohol markers that I'm going to be using, but you can see that there's 3 kind of different variations in the sand colors that I chose, and I just want to make sure that I have a little bit of variation for the sand. So the sand that's up here, I want it to be a little bit more of the yellowy base. I'm going to use this Y120 to start and just color in everything towards the top of the castle with this color. Okay, and then we're going to switch to the E220, and I'm going to, oh, you know what? I want this, like this edge over here to have a little bit of that lighter yellowy color too. There we go. All right, so yeah, E220 now, and I'm just going to try to blend that into the other color as best I can. So I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to just kind of come in with the original color and blend it in there together so that you get a little bit of a variation in the color palette. So it's not just one solid chunk, and I don't have to do quite as much blending with my pencils when it comes time. I'm going to set this 210 to the side for a second. All right, so still going in with the 220. And just blending things together and just switching back and forth between the E220 and Y120. And I'll still definitely have to come in with colored pencils just to get the, like, a nice deep dark shadows put in here, but I just wanted a little bit of a head start with these alcohol markers. All right, so I'm going to finish this up and I will record the rest of the castle bit for you guys, and I'll talk to you again here in a second. All right, and then for the rest of the sand down here, I want to have that as a base of the E210, and then we'll blend a little bit of the 220 in there as well. But kind of the same thing, the things kind of towards the edges of like the top crest of like hills and shadows and things. We'll get that color, the lighter color in there, and then use the 220 to darken things up a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to record that for you guys too, and I will talk to you again here in a second. Okay, sand is done. Let's work on these palm trees. So I'm going to use two colors. So I've got YR5 for the trunks, which I'm going to come back in with pencils and shade that up. And the same thing for the palm fronds. I'm going to use this old Winsor Newton brush marker. So it's the bright green, which is G267, but you can use any green. So I'm just going to go through and do the same thing. Just put a base layer. This is kind of a reddish orangey brown. But I thought that would be good, a good complement to the rest of the colors. Okay, and then just a solid, I'm just going to do a solid color on all of these, and then I will probably add extras with my pencils when I come in. All right, next I'm going to do the water. I have two different blues. I think I'm going to start with this lighter one, and then if I want to add any like depth with my alcohol marker, I'm going to use that darker one. But for now, I'm just going to go with the lighter one, and I am going to try to think about this. I'm probably just going to have to come in with my... Yeah, I'm going to have to come in with pencils and figure out where the shading is for these, because I feel like it would be darker here, and then certain areas are going to be lighter and certain areas are going to be almost white. So I'll be able to bring in like paint markers and stuff for that. But there are a couple of like little holes in the water, for lack of a better term, where the background sky would kind of peek through, because it's like these big swirls of, so like I feel like these things on the side are waves, and then this stuff is just like a swirl of water that's kind of made its way up behind the castle. Okay, water's done. I'm going to, still going to need this blue. I'm going to use this, yeah, I'm going to use this bright blue. So this PB7, I'm going to use that on the flag up top here. All right, YG08 is going to go on this one, this flag. Also going to use this yellow for the shovel. I don't know about you, but I totally remember bright yellow plastic shovels making sandcastles. Okay, I'm going to use the pink for this other flag here. All right. Oh, there's another flag down here. Well, let's do this purpley color. So this is RV 160. Sorry, and the pink color was R21. I'm also going to use these colors. I'm going to use this RV 160 on this shell. And then the R21 on this shell a little bit. Do it on the inside of the opening, and then we're going to just kind of do a little bit. I was originally going to try to do this shell as like a realistic kind of color palette, but I think I'm just going to do like a little stripey bit. I think that'll be cool. The sand dollar. For the sand dollar, I'm going to use YR240 from the Ohuhu set. This is real close to that background color, but once I add shading and stuff, it'll pop out. Starfish are supposed to be camouflagers anyway, right? Okay. Let's do the little kid. So I'm going to grab a skin color here. Okay, I've grabbed E13 from my Copic set. And then I'm using BR1 for the hair. All right, the shirt is going to be a bright yellow. The shorts are going to be blue. I'm thinking about doing like a little pattern. So maybe I should do like there's little sunshines or something on the shorts. See if I can get that to stick without making a mess. Probably could have come back in with paint markers to do that, but that's okay. I'll add some details with the paint markers. Okay, the bucket is going to be the pink color, which again will alter a little bit with pencils. All right, and so the turtle is what we have left. All right, so on the shell, the top part of the shell, I'm going to be using YR209. I'm just going to do this color all the way, just solid across there. And then when I come in with my pencils, I will add a little bit of detail. And I know that color is not that different from the sand, but like I said, with pencils, it'll change quite a bit. All right, I'm going to use the YG40. So this is like a yellowy gray, and that's going to go on the bottom part of the shell. Okay. Then I've got a couple of different greens and blues. Well, one blue that I might add in. I'm not sure about that one yet, but I'm going to do, I think I'm going to start with this one. So I'm going to start with G20, which is going to give me a little bit of a yellowy green nose color. Okay. And then we're going to go to, let's do YG61. So I'm going to go around the eye of the turtle, kind of blend this color into that other one. And anywhere where some skin peeks through, just add that color in a little bit. There we go. All right, and then for the main part of the turtle's body and the flippers, I'm going to use this G420 from Ohuhu. All right, so then when I get to the flippers, I'm definitely going to be going around the little, what are those? They're not scales. I'm not quite sure what they are, but I'm going to go around them a little bit. All right, and then the little spots and stuff, I'm going to do a combination of some things. So I'm going to flip between a little bit of the 420. So we'll have G420. We'll also have an YG63 and maybe a little bit of this BG72, which is a very desaturated blue, but I think it'll kind of, it will, yeah, complement the colors that I've got in here. So I'm just patting this color around. So we're starting with the 420. Okay, now I'm going to use the YG63. Again, just kind of patting it in various places. I'm going to use a little bit of this blue color, but very lightly on that one. I'm going to blend those together with the original, with this YG61. So I'm just going to go over all of that with that color. All right, and then kind of similar on the fins as well. Okay, so here is the alcohol marker base all done. Here are the markers that I use, just in case you want to use the same. Remember that a couple of these are Copics and a couple, there's one from the Winsor & Newton, but this is the basic color palette that I used for all of the colors. So there we go. I'm going to grab some pencils and we will get started on the pencil work. Okay, I'm pretty pleased with how this is looking so far. I'm going to start using some pencils. I'm going to use the Soucolor pencils to do my shading today. I'm going to start in the background. That's typically where I start. I feel like my sand is looking pretty good with the alcohol marker work I did. I might have to darken up a few shadows and maybe add a little bit of highlights in with a Posca pen later on. But let's get started with the trees. Okay, I'm going to start with number 10, which is Coffee. I'm going to zoom you in on this tree up here. Okay, and then I'm just going to do just some really basic, quick shading with my pencils here. Just try to darken up where the layers of the bark kind of overlap each other. Okay, I am going to blend that out a little bit with number 25, which is Ochre. So we're just blending that out just a tad. So it blends in pretty well with the background. And then I want to use my cream colored Prismacolor to add in a little bit of highlight on the edges of the tree here. All right, well, I'm just going to keep going with that. So again, Beaster, which is the 113, is the really dark one. That's where I want, like, underneath where this overlaps. And then we'll blend that out with the Coffee. And then one more time with the Ochre. And again, I'm not using hard pressure at all for these, so that I can actually save my fingers. Yeah, okay. That is the color palette I'm going to use for the rest of the, for both the rest of this and both trees. I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, now we're going to work on the palm fronds. I'm just going to show you this one palm frond here, how I'm going to do that, and then I will go off screen and finish the rest of this tree and the other tree on the screen here. So I'm going to actually start with this purple. So this is Ultraviolet number 80. And I'm going to use this as the super, super deep dark shadow color. So anywhere where these palm fronds overlap each other, I'm going to put a layer of that in there, just so you can kind of see what that's going to do. And then I'm also going to add just a little bit along one edge of the center of the leaf here. Just a little bit there. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to use a mix of greens. So I have 116, which is light olive, and that's going to go through anywhere where Joseph's already drawn in the shadows for us. We're going to add that color in. It's so handy when artists put that detail in for us, because then you don't have to think about it. You can just add the color and that's where it's supposed to be. It's very helpful. All right, let me finish the rest of this part up. I'll just kind of show you what I'm thinking here. Okay, next is dark yellowish green, so number 105. And this is just blending that darker color out a little bit. I'm gonna try to add in a little bit of yellow. So I have number 14, creamy yellow. So I'm just gonna add in, see if I can get, no, that doesn't really change the color very much. Okay, so we're just gonna go in with our cream and really bring out some of those highlights. Sometimes you can add other colors in and sometimes it doesn't really work, but it's always fun to try it just to see if you can get that color in there. Okay, and I'm using the purple again to kind of darken up the shadow there. Just make it a nice, rich, deep, dark shadow. Okay, yeah, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna use this purpley color on this edge of the leaf, though, just a little, to make the shadow colors a little bit darker on that side. Now I'm going in with 116. All right, and then blend that out with the yellowish green color. I think that's 105. Yeah, 105. All right, and then same thing with the cream. Coming back in to try to bring in some of those highlights back out a little bit. I might be able to go over that with some yellow in a couple of spots. That really does kind of just blend it back into the green behind there. Yeah. I feel like I need just a little bit more contrast, so I'm going to try to darken that up. Darken up some of the shadows again with the light olive. And then that's what all of the palm fronds are going to look like. Again, just using a little bit of a purple color kind of helps make those shadows just that much deeper and darker. Okay, yeah, so there we go. So there's a couple palm fronds. I'm going to finish off the rest of this tree and do the other tree, and then I will be right back with you guys. All right, got the trees done. Next, I'm going to work on the water in the background. I do already have my colors pulled for that, so I'm going to use the light sky blue, which is 130, and the ultramarine, which is 66. So I'm just going to, on these waters, anywhere where there's a little bit of shadow drawn in, I'm going to be adding these two colors. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. So I'm starting with the 130. And like I said, just anywhere where there's a little bit of a hint of a shadow, I'm going to add these colors in and then blend that out a little bit. So again, I'm going to come in with the darker color in some of the darker areas. Yeah, and then I'm going to just blend this out into what's already there. So this is another great reason to have a base layer down, is it just practically colors itself, right? Like, I mean, I know I had to put the color down initially, but it just is way easier that way. Okay, and then I will come back through later on with some white Posca white paint pen and add that in. Okay, so I'm going to add just a little bit of blue to the water drops there too. So yeah, I'm going to do this on all of the water in the background with these two colors. And when we come back, we'll move on to the next thing. So yeah, I will talk to you again here in a second. Okay, the water is all done. I'm just going to show you really quickly what I'm going to do with my Posca. Literally, I'm just going to trace the outlines of several of the lines on here. The outside edges and some of the black lines through the inside, just to kind of create that water effect. Yeah, so let me get this whole section done. I'm going to show you where I'm going to add like little embellishments and stuff into the water. Okay, so that's basically what it's going to look like without any like little extra bits. So now I'm just going to come in and add a few dots into a couple of places. Just a few here and there, randomly spaced, just so it looks like, there we go. Oh, let's go ahead and do this little guy. And then we can do some dots around the water too. Okay, so that's what the water is going to look like. I'm going to do that for all of the water, and then when we come back, we'll work on the sand a little bit. I like to get all of the stuff in the background done first, but I don't have to do a ton with the sand, so I'm kind of happy with that. So I will talk to you again here in a second. Okay, so for the sand, I'm going to use this burnt umber. So this is 180, and this is just for me to go through and really darken up the shadows around. So anywhere where that dark color already is, I'm just going to darken it up just that little bit more, just so I get a good contrast between my lights and my darks there. So yeah, and I'm going to do it down here. I'm going to do it up on the top parts of the castle, but really like just where things like overlap is going to get a good amount of this. Anywhere where I think I may have slacked a bit with the alcohol markers, we'll go back in with. But yeah, that's just going to give a good good contrast there. Just makes it that little bit darker than that in the shadows. Yeah, so I'm just going to go through and do that for the whole background. It's really not going to take me that long to do because I don't have to do a ton. I just have to add a little bit. Yeah, I just wanted to show you a little bit of this, and then I'm going to finish the rest of this off camera, just kind of so you can see what my plan is. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So yeah, so you can kind of see the difference between this side and the rest of the sand. So that's what I'm going to do for all of the sand. And then when I come back, we will work on the next section. So I'll talk to you again here in a second. Okay, there is all of the sand done. I really like the way that that turned out. I am, well, not quite done. I'm going to add in little Posca dots like I did for the waves, but just kind of randomly here and there on the castle. Kind of where like it might catch like a highlight of I don't know, some kind of different sediment in the sand or something. Some little crystal-y bits in the sand. I do like when like you go to the beach and the sand is in the sun and it sparkles. That makes me smile. Okay, I think next I'm going to work on the turtle's shell here. I want it to be similar in tone to the background, but I still want it to stand out enough that you can tell it's a shell and not sand. So I'm going to zoom in. And I have chocolate, which is 138, and apricot yellow, which is 108. So I'm going to start with the chocolate. And again, I'm going through in the darker areas that Joseph has already drawn in and adding that dark color. And then I'm going to blend it out with the lighter color. And it's not going to be quite as different as I was hoping. Maybe I should find a darker. might grab another darker color. Okay, I'm going to try dark brown, which is number 13, to really get some of the shadows done right in there. Okay, so to darken up a little bit of the shadows, I'm using number, 35, Brilliant Blue, just to add a little bit more, make it a little bit darker in between the sections of the shell there. I feel like I've mentioned this maybe, I don't know if it was this video or other videos, but blue and purples are always great shadow colors when you want to add a little bit of darkness into areas. Okay, we've got the under part here. So the under part of the turtle's shell. Okay, so I have number 29, which is greenish gray, and we're going to see what that does first. And that creates a little bit of a good tone there. Okay, and I'm going to bring in number 95, which is earth tone, to add a little bit of a brown to that too. So yeah, those two colors combined for all of the shading on the underbelly part. And yeah, and then I'll be right back with you and we'll work on the next section. Okay, so now we're gonna work on the skin of the turtle, and I've got greenish gray, so it's number 29, kiwi green 148, and medium sea green at 96. So I'm gonna start with the number 96 and do all of the shadowed areas on the neck here. Blend that all out with the greenish gray. So that's number 29. All right, and then up on the nose here, again, I'm going to start with the sea green, but just barely adding color. I don't want to add a ton to that. And then I'm going to blend it out a little bit with my kiwi green. Add a little bit of this light jade green, which is 159. And then I'm going to use my cream color to color on the end of the turtle's nose there. I am going to come back through too and add a little bit of the kiwi green into a couple of spots on the turtle's neck, just to create a nice interest color changing bit there. Okay, cool, I like that. Okay, all of the little, I don't know what they are, all of the little sections on the face, those are gonna be just like a mix of all of these greens kind of combined as well. And I don't have to do a ton of shading on this because I've already got quite a bit done with the alcohol markers. So what I might do is just add like a little bit around the outside edges. Yeah, so let's see what that does. I'm going to start with the greenish gray, and just where like the little lines are on the little bits around. Seriously, if anybody knows what those are called, I know they're not scales, but let me know if you know what those little sections on the sea turtle are called. Okay, cool. Switch back to the medium sea green just to get the shading around the eye done well. Yeah, I don't dislike that. Let's work on the flipper here, and then I'll do the same thing on this flipper back here. But again, I'm going to start with the medium sea green just to get the shading, get the darker color in the shadowed areas that you can see. Okay. Yeah, and then I'm going to use the greenish gray to add a little bit of shading to each of these little pieces. It's like little pieces of armor, basically, right? That's what these are. Okay, so I think I want a little bit of shadow kind of underneath all of these little guys. So I'm going to use my purple that we used earlier, and just along one edge here, we're just going to give it a little bit of a shadow. I know that's looks very purple, but I'm going to try to kind of blend that out a little bit with the greenish gray. Just go right over all of those purple bits. Okay, and then I am going to come back up here and add the purple just underneath the shell. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to do the same thing to the back flipper here. Okay, so there is our turtle skin all done. Only thing left we have is his little eye there for him, and then he will be done. So I'm going to use Ultramarine, which is number 66. I'm going to give him a nice blue eye. No idea what color turtle's eyes are normally, but he's going to have blue. And I'm also using light sky blue, which is 130. So yeah, there's his blue eye. Okay. Use my white Posca to just get that circle nice and clean and maybe add a couple more dots in his eye. Okay, he's cute. So I am also going to add white dots around on his little scales. So just a few here and there, nothing crazy. Again, just kind of similar to what I did on the Sandcastle. Oh, I forgot this whole section. Let me finish that real quick. All right, yep. So now I'm just gonna keep adding a few little dots around on these little sections on his flippers. Okay, I think our turtle is done. He's so cute. All right, so now we just have bits and bobs left. So we have the seashells, the shovel, the little kid, and the flags and the sea star. So yeah, let's get those done real quick. All right, for this shell down here, I'm gonna try a combination of 172, 123, and my Prismacolor cream. And then this color combo will also be used on the flag that kind of has the same color. So I'm gonna, again, start with the darker color. Get the shading in. Okay, and then I'm blending that out with the 172, I believe that's the number. And again, adding those at the edges here. I'm going to use this lighter color to add like the little bit of color in there. Okay, I do want to kind of highlight some of these little lines that go across the shell. So coming back in with my darker color again and just kind of adding a little bit of color right over top of some of those. Okay, and then I'm going to use my cream, specifically at the edges here. Definitely in the areas where I left it white from my alcohol marker work, I'm going to add the cream in there. Kind of want to, hopefully that is giving it like a good beachy color. All right, I'm going to use my ultraviolet, so that's number 80, just to really darken the shadows up underneath this shell. Okay, that's cute. I'll add in some white Posca dots because why not? Maybe I'll just do a few little lines across like Joseph drew in with his. All right, I like that shell. Let's switch to another one. All right, time for this shell. So I've got a color combo here of pastel pink 126, Sakura 54, and light coral 87. So yep, I'm gonna again start with the darkest. All right, and then I'm gonna switch to number 54. And then number 87. And then really get in there with my cream color. I'm gonna use the ultraviolet again. Just at the base here. Okay. All right, for the outside of this shell, this is gonna be tricky for me, I think. Again, I'm gonna try to use this darker pink color, just like in the shadowed areas that are already drawn in. All right, go right over top of that with the 87. I'm trying to tone it down and make it not quite so bright pink and make it more like a corally kind of pink, I guess. Okay, and then instead of the 54. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to use number 167, which is like a little bit more of a peachy color, to blend that out a little bit more. Right? And then come in with the cream. It really does help tone down that bright pink too, doesn't it? Okay, yep, and then I'm gonna add in, again, the ultraviolet, especially like where the different layers come in. Anywhere where it needs to be extra dark. I might add in a little bit of this brown color, so this is number 74. Again, just to tone down that purple so it's not super bright and it's more muted and naturally. I know that's not a word, but I'm hoping you get my meaning there. Okay. All right, that looks kind of interesting, right? Like it's not crazy weird. Adding a brown a little bit more. Just on the edges there too. Okay. All right, come in with the Posca. Definitely along the edges, we want some white there. It's a little heavy on the Posca there, but that's okay. That's all right. Okay, and then just a few highlights down into the shell too. Okay, and then on the shell itself, we're gonna do some little dotties. That was too dark. Okay, I think that one's done. Again, hold on to that color combo for the flag up top. Now we'll work on the yellow bits. Okay, so we have a shirt, a shovel, and a flag that we need to work on. So I'm gonna try this color combo. So I'm gonna use the grayish pink as like a shadow color, I believe. That's what I'm gonna try to do. And then my yellows are number 36, number 4, and number 14. So we're gonna try this and see how it goes. Let me try it on, let me try it on the shovel first. So I'm gonna do a little bit of this grayish pink in the shadowed areas very lightly. Okay, I'm gonna use number 36 on top of that. Okay, number 4. Yeah, I don't even need this 14, and I'm just gonna use the white to bring out a few highlights. On the shovel. Yeah, I don't even need that other yellow. Okay, I don't know that I feel like that's quite dark enough, so I'm gonna try with the 74 with the brown to... Nope, I don't like that. Well, I'm gonna finish that, and then I'm gonna add in the purple. I don't know what it is about this page, but all the shadows are needing purple in my eyes for some reason. Okay, there we go. Okay. And then the shadow for this would kind of go, it's not quite right up against his... There we go. We'll just have that be the shadow. Okay, cool. Okay, I like that yellow combo, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna do these other two with that same combo. And yeah, again, just following the shadows and adding in highlights, and I will talk to you guys again here in a second after I get those done. All right, the last few things we need to color are all kind of in this little section here. So I've got the shirt done and the shorts. I forgot to record the shorts, but it's the same color combo we used for the water and the same color combo we'll use. Oh no, it's a little bit different for the flag up here. I forgot about that. I ended up using the same colors. It looks okay. Anyway, and then I used my Languo Gel pen in a yellow to create the little suns. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like little starbursts coming off, so it looks like little suns. So I thought that was kind of cute. Okay, so we're going to do the skin on this little cutie. So I'm going to use brown 174, shallow orange 167, and light ochre 78 to try to do a little bit of a skin combo on here. So again, and this is not going to be super detailed. This is just, you know, a few bits and pieces here and there, because this little cutie is not the focus of the page. So I'm going to blend that all out and do a little bit more with this one. And then I'm going to add in some cream. There we go. And then I guess we'll do a little bit of blush. So this is the pink, the pastel pink that I grabbed from the other, the pink combo. All right, yeah, I don't need this to be like perfect either, so I got to keep that in my mind. Like, this doesn't have to be a perfect skin tone, it just has to hint at what it is. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to finish off the arms and legs with that color combo. Okay, skin is done. I'm going to do the hair with dark coffee, so that's number 60, and my cream. So again, just picking out where the shadows are. Wish I had this much hair. All right, yeah, and then just add in a few little highlights with the cream. All right, well guys, done. Let's do these two flags over here. All right, so for the purpley color, we had lavender 123 first. And then we had number 172. And then I did add a little bit of cream, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that into some of the highlighted areas on this. So yeah, I'm just going to finish up this flag, and then we'll move on to the next one. All right, and then the pink color combo for this bucket and the flag here, so it's the same one. So we do pastel pink first, then I will use the light coral. I might just be able to get away with just those two. And a little bit of cream. Yeah, I think that's good. We might actually have to bring in a little bit of the purple to get some of the shadow. Yeah, I'm going to bring in a little bit of the purple just in the darker areas. All right, and then same color combo for the flag here. All right, and then for this flag up here, I'm going to try this color combo, so 130 and 66. So we're going to start with the 130. Only because I know that the 66 is really dark and I don't want it to be. There we go, let's try this. Okay, I'm gonna just add a little bit in there. And then I'm gonna use the white for my highlighted areas. So it would be a little bit highlighted right there. Add a little bit more color here. Okay, yeah, so I'm just gonna finish that flag with that color combo. Okay, little final touches. I'm going to add a little bit of white highlights to the flag here. So just a little bit of, few little dots. On the flags. Maybe a little bit on the bucket here. And then I've got my gold Sparklepop pen that I'm going to use to do these little flag poles. And I think that's it. Let me zoom out. All right, so here it is. This is the final page. I feel like it looks really cool. I like it a lot. Yeah, I like it. It's just a perfect beachy summer page. And I am glad that I got it done in time for the end of the month. So yeah, that is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this color along. Again, sorry it's last minute, right at the end of the month, but yeah, at least I got one done this month. That's the good news. Okay, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.